Guys, welcome back to another brand new video. Today we are watching Vincent's Entertainment. He makes great, when I mean great, great. Newest. Okay. Okay, I just finished 3 stories.
This is my story.
Okay.
I used to have a habit of grinding my teeth while sleeping. So I had a lot of arguments with my roommate about this. Of course, I felt sorry for him. So I was thinking about what to do. I finally found out
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty loud.
that a mouthpiece would be a perfect solution. I told him in a loud voice, "You're not going to hear anything from today on." I put the mouthpiece in my mouth and then I laid down. However, he suddenly shook me not too long after. I slowly opened my eyes. The lights were turned on, and my roommate was looking down at me with a blank stare. "What's the matter?" I asked. "Something's weird," said my friend. And what he said was that he suddenly heard loud teeth grinding sounds again while he was sleeping. But this time, it was bigger than usual, and it sounded more vivid in his ears. And he finally felt that he had reached the end of his patience. "I'm gonna have to kill that bastard." Literally, this is how he felt at that moment. Only thinking about that, he tried to find a knife and put it in my mouth. But it was too dark in the room, so he turned on the light to find it. And then, the sound abruptly stopped. You know, when a person grinds his teeth or snores, it doesn't matter whether someone turns on the light or not. But when he turned the light on, the noise stopped. And when he came close to me, he found that I was sleeping quietly with the mouthpiece in. Then, what did he hear? And the next thing my roommate says was, "It just gives me goosebumps. Hey, if I hadn't turned the lights on and found the knife, I think I would have killed you. You know? Pretty weird, though, but I couldn't think of anything else."
Wow. Wow.
I don't know where to begin. One night I was working part-time at a convenience store. There was a small warehouse inside where you could place orders and watch the CCTVs. It was so quiet that day that I just went inside and spent time just watching CCTVs. As you see, our convenience store makes a jingling sound whenever someone opens the door. But then, I saw a boy on a CCTV. How's it possible? I didn't even hear the bell ringing. In a panic, I slowly looked out, but I couldn't see the boy outside the window. At first, it seemed like he was walking around in front of the snack bar, but he gradually came toward the warehouse where I was sitting. What the? I was terrified. What the heck is that? And then suddenly a man came inside, but I was already too scared to dare to go out. When he saw that there was no staff inside, he turned around and tried to go out again. But at that moment, I almost fainted when I saw his back. Riding on his back, the boy was staring at me. I was frozen on the spot. And after a moment, suddenly, I heard a big car and tires squealing. He was hit by a car and died right away. Well, I still don't know what I saw that day.
I don't believe that. I think that was made up.
Let me tell you about my grandmother.
Okay.
Well, she doesn't have one finger on her hand. When my grandmother was pregnant with my uncle and aunt, she got her finger stuck in the cultivator's motor, and it got cut off. Also, there were a lot of bad things that happened that year, and she had a lot of people who died or were sick around her. My great-grandmother took my grandmother to a shaman's house at the time after finishing her finger treatment. Well, just as expected, as soon as they visited her, she told her about her bad luck and some other stuff. My grandmother was about to go back home because she thought it was literal nonsense. All of a sudden, the shaman stood up and yelled, "Where's your finger?" Her eyes turned white. "Oh, you attach your finger on in that place? My great-grandmother was surprised at the shaman shouting and asked the meaning. And then she answered like this. That woman's fingers went in her stomach. Less than a month after leaving the shaman's house, my uncle and aunt were born. And when my grandmother saw her babies, she was horrified. Both of them were born with polydactylism, so they both had 6 toes each on one side.
6 toes?
Well,
Whoa, that's creepy.
I still don't believe in ghosts or shaman stuff, but that story really gave me the creeps.
You think? Alright, that story.
This horrible incident happened when I was 15 years old. I had a doctor's appointment to check up on my arm, as I had sprained it a few weeks before. I had to remove my bandages that day, so I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for my turn to see
Actually, you look like you lost your hair.
the doctor. Then I suddenly noticed a very tall guy in front of me.
No.
Maybe he was about 6'2". He had black hair and was a neat type with a clean-shaven face.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a long black trench coat and baggy black tracksuit bottoms. It was obvious that he looked a bit odd, but I decided to ignore him as I was often easily paranoid to strangers. However, a strong smell instantly invaded my sense of smell when he just sat next to me. He smelled like he had something rotten hiding inside of his coat. It was so horrible to endure it, and eventually made me feel sick to my stomach. I instantly got up, rushed to the toilet, and then I ended up throwing up. After cleaning myself up, I went back to the waiting room, and luckily that man was gone. My doctor was waiting for me at that time, so I went to her office, and she got my bandages removed. I told her about the man that I saw just before, and she said she'd seen him before too. She thought there was something off about him, but she eventually didn't say anything. Of course, I couldn't blame her, so I just greeted after that and left the hospital. As I was coming out from the entrance and about to walk toward my home, I suddenly heard some heavy breathing in an alleyway next to the hospital. At first, I couldn't see clearly who it was
Run.
because of the shadow, but soon after, I realized that he was the same man that I had seen in the waiting room. He didn't leave. What should I do? I was terrified. However, there was something strange about his motion, though. I looked more closely, and I could make out him biting on a severed arm. And that's when I realized that it was the source of the stench I smelled in the waiting room. I almost screamed, but held my breath as much as I could, and then ran down the road to call the police immediately. As soon as they arrived in about 5 to 6 minutes, they knocked him down on the ground to arrest him. I figured out later that he was finally indicted on charges of kidnap and murder of people. And because of that incident, I didn't go to the hospital and stayed at my home for a while. I wonder, what if I had screamed when I was there and he found me? Would I have been the next victim that he was chewing on? I think it was a good decision that I made at the time, and I'm just glad that I'm still alive.
Alright, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. I gotta upload this. Make a whole series out of this.